Hi, hello everybody, and welcome back to D Plus Us Weekly, the show where we talk about shows episode by episode, week by week for our enjoyment and yours. One of your hosts, Griffin and Al Griffey D-Pad, and with me as always is the wonderful, the amazing Mr. Miss George Bright Sons. How are you doing today?
I was just reminded we're getting Percy Jackson season 2 this year, and that makes me happy.
You are goddamn right we are. What reminded you of that?
I think our lovely intro, if you were to go over and watch us on youtube.com/@D+us, you'd see some lovely sword action there, which reminds me that Percy Jackson is a thing that we talk about weekly when it comes out, but we're not here to talk about Percy Jackson weekly. We're here to cry.
Yeah, but probably in all likelihood, honestly, with this week's episodes. Oh, God.
Back a big one.
I'm not ready for this one. What's up, folks? That's how you know that this is going to be one hell of a podcast.
Oh, boy.
We're here today to talk about Andor Season 2, Episodes 7 through 9. As a reminder, these are dropping in 3-episode chunks. It takes us a second to actually watch 3 episodes of highly traumatic television. So...
No, I'm watching the final 3 tonight. I can't wait.
Probably same, honestly. It takes a little bit to get to this, so we appreciate your patience with us. But also, goddamn, what a show. We'll be full spoilers here in just a moment, but a quick rigmarole before we jump into that. First off, hi, hello, how you doing? Thanks for listening. We got some other content around. We got some great stuff going out right now on TikTok that I just want to shout out. It's something I've been working on. I'm trying to make them again. And we're idiots, so it's really easy to make them.
Are you going to make me reinstall TikTok?
No, I just send you the dumb ones.
I see them on YouTube. You put the shorts on YouTube too, don't you?
Yeah, they're all up on YouTube too.
I'll see them there.
Sorry, the next one is going to be when you just start poking the camera for no reason. No, you do not get to start that bullshit again.
I won't do it again. You just reminded me. I forgot that existed. People remind me of bad bits that I just don't let go, and then I bring them right back.
Yeah, that's honestly what the TikTok.
That one's on you.
That is on me. But there's also Parks content happening there, because I can do that and Mitch cannot.
Not here. Unless you want me to go take you on Yukon Striker.
Sure.
I'm not doing that. I don't have time to go to a theme park. I barely have time to stay vertical.
Fair enough. Yeah, go check that stuff out. Go check out the regular show where we put up shows. Try to put up episodes every other week. But we just recently put up 2 episodes. 2 episodes that were actually kind of timely. The first being our review of Thunderbolts, asterisk. Fantastic movie and a fantastic review. Check that out. As well as a full review of the day that I spent at Epic Universe.
That's not Disney.
It doesn't matter. If you have any interest in the park, I highly recommend checking it out. We go through pretty much everything in the park. The goods, the bads, the uglies. Everything and everything. That park is getting a lot of attention right now.
And how Disney can learn from what Disney needs to learn from it, I think, is where the Disney framing can come in for the title of our goddamn podcast.
When it comes to the theme parks, Disney and Universal are so intertwined that we're just saying fuck it. With those out of the way, Mitch, Episode 7, Messenger. Things start to get dark. Episode 8, Who Are You?
Holy shit. Best episode of this show.
Episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion.
Oh my god.
Somehow got better.
Again.
The Gorman Massacre is these 3 episodes. The final lead up to it, the actual events, and then the fallout.
Yeah.
And all of it is, from a television standpoint, beautifully done. But goddamn if it don't hurt.
Well, I mean, the parallels between the Gorman Massacre and Cassian's mom's funeral at the end of season 1, just the sense of community, the sense of togetherness. It starts out as a protest and then just becomes this celebration of Gorman life and Gorman ritual and Gorman tradition that is immediately snuffed out by the Empire.
Yeah, when they start singing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no. And like, we all know what's coming. If you know Star Wars, you know that the Gorman Massacre is a thing. Like,
I think as well, it's very apt that Cassian is present for this. Because with everything that he's been through and where Bix sets him up as a character at the end of the next episode that we'll talk about in a bit, I'm sure. He's been present for such loss of life and just loss of freedom that you're gonna hate me. This show is doing for Rogue One what Avengers Endgame did for Thor: The Dark World, and Rogue One is already a fantastic Star Wars film, but this is just making it better.
You can't keep getting away with this.
Stop setting me up for it, Disney.
Literally, it's just brands adding context.
No, but the context makes it so much better. Because Cassian as a character is flawed, but Cassian as a character has this journey that we didn't know about when we had the events of Rogue One. So him being an asshole and kind of doing his thing, then ultimately sacrificing himself. Yeah, sacrificing himself for the greater good, gets the plans, does all the thing. Going back to watch that now is going to be even more heartbreaking knowing everything this character has gone through.
Oh, absolutely.
So I really love that this is here because something like Obi-Wan Kenobi, or even Ahsoka's a little different, but looking at Obi-Wan Kenobi as a series, bridging episodes 3 to 4, I don't think that did as much for the character of Obi-Wan or Leia or Vader than this did for the character of Andor, going into a standalone Star Wars film that many people really enjoy, but it doesn't really... It in itself is adding context to the original trilogy. So it's very interesting how much this one show can add to that one movie and make this universe feel such vibrancy of life, such
in a way it's kind of wonderfully poetic where Rogue One was the first Star Wars story.
Yeah.
And now that's just what Star Wars is.
I can't wait to watch Rogue One honestly, this is going to be a bit of a crazy weekend. So like after the weekend and into next week, I want to sit down and watch Rogue One because I sat down and watched a few of the features that were on Disney Plus, and one of them was just Kathleen Kennedy and some of the cast and crew talking about what it meant to make the first Star Wars story outside of the Skywalker saga. And then knowing that this adds to that is just... I was the biggest pessimist to prequel content that you would find probably anywhere on the internet. And I know where this show ends. But I can't wait to see the rest of the journey to get us there. I
should preface, folks, that he means that with all prequels in general, not just with Star Wars prequels.
Oh yeah, prequels to content that already exists. Any prequel, film, television show, whatever. It's not
you picked the one franchise where that's a specific thing.
Prequel to other content. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it at length on this show. If anyone's been here before, they know my rants.
And I yell at you because every time we do prequel content, it ends up being amazing. And mostly because it's Andor.
Not always.
Well, we
talked about Black Widow.
God, that was forever ago.
It was, but Thunderbolts made Black Widow a better film.
Disagree. But I also think Black Widow was already a great film. So.
Disagree.
For what it had to be. Anyways, bringing it back here. Yeah, I love this. I love the choices we had here for having Cass there. Bringing him back. We saw a lot of kind of the logical way things are going to be going with Luthen in this. Of he is pushing people away. Like he had that speech in season 1 of like, no, I'm going to be alienated. I'm going to be hated. Nobody like me. Nobody is supposed to like me. And we really see that playing out here. You have all this infighting, and that's kind of what got what's her name killed in last week's episodes. Like, you have this infighting between them. You have this infighting, this enthusiasm, but lack of preparation. You have all these different groups. And now in these episodes, we're finally starting to see people get organized and get together and start that army, start that fight. I think seeing that and seeing it play into Cass coming back and helping Luthen with this job of assassinating Deidre in Gorman, and then helping again to save Mon Mothma, is very, very interesting among that, because like he is prime on the list of people who should hate Luthen and should not work with the man. And you see that in Mon Mothma as well, and Bail Organa, and I love that we're actually addressing that, of the infighting of this side could have totally thrown it apart in a way that it very much is right now in reality.
it's interesting as well looking at all of that. Like everyone knows Luthen is a necessary evil to meet the needs of the rebellion, and ultimately, I think like looking at Cass as a character, the reason that he leans into this and the reason why Bix makes the decision she does for the both of them is knowing that what he's lived through makes him the well, one, what he's lived through, two, what the Force healer sensed in him. He has a destiny about him and needs to be in this. And Bix would have taken him out of it, and Luthen could have taken him out of it. And like, there's so many places where this should have and could have fallen apart, but something is keeping him moving. And I like to think that within the universe, it is the Force.
It's so fitting as well for this in Star Wars, because so much of Star Wars, these events happens because a guy couldn't get over a girl.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
in this one, it is Bix taking herself out of the equation because she knows he will choose her, and he will not choose anything else.
So there's that, but there's also we can't gloss over this. It is the end of Cyril's story, right? The saga of Cyril and Dedra. I'm really bad with names. Dedra.
God, so good, right?
Coming to an end the way it does, with him understanding that he's been used by the Empire, made to do these things that he didn't. He understood that it's one of those things like I did as I was told, but he had the realization that he did as he was told, and a lot of people have been and will be hurt by it, and gives up on it, and it ultimately leads to his demise, not just because he walked away from the Empire, but because he couldn't forgive Cass for the events of season 1. And we have that moment where he asks, "Who are you?" And then he's shot. Like, it's just...
And you see it in his face, too, of, like, the realization of just
broken.
everything, right? Like, I am fully on the opinion of, like, at that moment, with that realization, he was not going to shoot Cass at that point anymore.
I don't think
like,
so.
He was not going to do that. I do think that in that moment he realized of, oh, Cassian is playing at something significantly bigger than just me.
Yeah.
And he dies.
I think it's very... Well, it's also poetic that Ryland's knowing everything that Cyril has done to his people and to his world is the one that pulls the trigger.
Oh, yeah, that was genuinely like an oh shit moment for me of like, oh, he got the kill shot.
It's like, who pulled the trigger?
I thought it was going to be Willman.
I did too.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how things came back around as well. A lot of season 1 coming back around in this one with that, or like when he introduces himself to Mon Mothma of like, hey, yo, I know your cousin.
Yeah.
Or the dude from the prison showing up on Yavin 4.
Yeah.
Like,
that was unexpected.
Mm-hmm. That was a genuine pop-off moment for me because I recognized the gun.
Yeah. I think what's also really nice here with that is it subverts our expectations, because as the audience, you're expecting the rebellion is what's going to come together. And no, it's just human nature. You fucked around and you found out, in the case of Cyril. I thought that was really, really... again, it's heartbreaking, but it's something that had to happen before the end of the show. Not just because it's a prequel to Rogue One, but because of all the shit that he's been through and what he's gone through. That makes sense for the end of his character story. And it sets up Dedra to be in a really bad place going to this last chunk of episodes. And you have to imagine that it is Dedra coming to blows with Cass to end this show and lead into the events of Rogue One.
Oh, absolutely.
I do.
Or either that, or honestly, I could see the next few episodes being Dedra fighting this, coming to grips with what she's done. I think losing Cyril in that is going to break her.
I think it breaks her, but I don't think it can break her ties to the Empire. I honestly wouldn't want to see it do that, just because she's so deep. Like,
see, I don't think it's going to break her ties. I think it's just going to kind of put her as a silent supporter of the situation. You have this is an interesting moment right now in something like this, especially as it relates to modern day events, where you very much have a group of people who are, no, I fully agree with what is happening. I fully support it, and I'm going to sit and watch.
Yeah.
And I can totally see that her falling into that role alongside Cyril's mother.
I can see that, but I could also see, like, again, a very destructive personality trait of folks that are as invested in their careers as Dedra, is just burying yourself in your work, trying to bury loss and um, sadness in the monotony of the day, and in achieving those goals to try to fulfill yourself in the workplace, as opposed to the lack of fulfillment you're now getting in your personal life. So I could see the opposite of, like, she just has thrown herself headlong into her work. She is the right hand of Admiral Ben Mendelsohn, whose character's name I should remember at some
We will
point.
never remember his name. He is just Ben Mendelsohn.
But ultimately, like, I could see that happening as well, and I think that would be really interesting of seeing Cat. The again, it's the parallels of Cass and Dedra losing what matters most to them and diving headlong into their work on opposite ends of this spectrum, the rebellion and the empire, and seeing where that comes to a head, as it also has to set up the events of the Battle of Yavin 4, right?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, what's nice about some of that is that it's about a lot of the early rebellion stuff is that it's really self-contained, battle to battle. So it could just lead into let's end this story and then we know where Cassian ends up. Like, we could really do a lot with it. I am curious where they're going to take that story, though, considering that we only have one more drop of episodes.
Krennic. Krennic was the name that we're not remembering.
He's still Ben Mendelsohn.
He's Ben Mendelsohn. I think what's also interesting here is the retcon that we've gotten now on the origins of K2SO.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we always knew that he was a repurposed K2S or KX droid from a mission.
We did, but it was also canon in a Marvel comic after the release of
One
Rogue
of
One,
those.
where they introduced K2SO and how Cass and K2 ended up coming together, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me because it wasn't in the primary media. I would say, like, the secondary, the books, the comics and stuff.
Yeah, there's only a couple of
While
comics that I
canon,
think are
don't.
more important. When you're introducing
don't-
unique characters over there, that's when stuff
Yeah.
is more
Oh,
important.
fully agree.
Shout out Dr. Ephraim.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
chance I get.
You'll find any. You with that, me with Thor: The Dark World. It's inevitable.
Give me a Dr. Aphra show and then I'll shut up.
I'm fine with that. And getting Alan Tudyk at the end of that episode 9, I'm like, okay. So the rest of this show is just going to be a buddy cop rebellion story with Andor and K2,
immediately
and
the
I'm good with that.
sassiest he can possibly be.
Which he was incredibly sassy in the film, so I cannot wait to get more of him here.
God.
But one thing I did miss that we didn't get enough of was Jimmy Smits.
That
Jimmy Smits is the actor that played Bail Organa in everything up until this episode.
yes. He was recast. Recast very well, frankly.
I do agree. I do love Benjamin Bratt. He's great in everything. Shout out to his role in Doctor Strange. I know it's a weird pull. Or Miss Congeniality. He was fantastic in Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, I do like
It did
they've
feel off.
talked
Like,
about
it's-
why. I don't think it fell off. It was just them. No, that's Bail Organa for this.
It was a scheduling conflict, and that's fine. But, like, Jimmy Smits has played that character for 20 years. Bale was introduced in episode 2 or episode 3. I want to say
I want to
2
say two.
because he also played Bale in
'Cause I think he was introduced in the whole assassin thing in two.
Attack of the Clones. Yep, I'm looking it up here. Attack of the Clones, he was introduced.
No, I really like the recast. I understand why, and like obviously, if they could have used him, I would have preferred they used him. But I really hope that this opens up Star Wars to actually doing recasts and not just doing the ugly CGI thing. I'm so happy they didn't do the ugly CGI thing here.
Which, I mean, thankfully they didn't do that with Mon Mothma. They could have tried, and I'm glad they didn't. They again, I started Rogue One before this week's episodes and fell asleep. So I got to make time to, like, do it in the middle of the day on a Saturday. I'm never going to stay awake through it. And the CG Tarkin is a CG Tarkin, and I would love to do an episode on that movie with you, because I would love to hear your thoughts on CG Tarkin. 6 years or no. 9 years. Jesus Christ. That movie came out 9 years ago.
What's wild is that we're still doing stuff like that now.
Which,
Like, I'm happy it's not here. But yeah, Star Wars, just recast people. Seriously, for God's sake.
it's just hard because you have Jimmy Smits playing Bail Organa in Rogue One, which happens after this. You have him playing Obi-Wan Kenobi, Bail Organa, which happens after this. So like it is kind of hard to separate the two, and it would have been really nice to use Jimmy Smits here, although they probably would have had to use hella makeup or something, because I know they did makeup in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the man still looks fantastic, so they probably wouldn't have had to do too much, but they would have had to figure something out to make him look younger than he looked in both. I guess the same.
I think maybe it's because I am a theater person where it's like recasting just doesn't faze me.
It doesn't bother me, but I would rather like I feel for the audience that maybe isn't familiar enough with Bail Organa to be like, oh, that's Bail. Like they just say Bail or Senator a couple of times. Like
with all due respect, that's not the audience watching Andor.
That's also very true, but it doesn't hurt to beat people over the head with it.
Fair. I think
character. I don't think Bale was super relevant here.
Yeah, I think they mentioned him a few times, and we're good. They could have used
any senator. It didn't even have to be Bail Organa, to be honest.
Yeah, and like it makes sense for it to be Bail Organa. Like it does, especially he becomes that figurative person within the rebellion. There we go. Words.
Key member of the rebellion coming out of.
And I find it interesting that we haven't talked much about episode 9, because episode 9, like I know you said episode 8 was you think was the best. I think episode 9 is the best.
No, see, I still think I like episode 9. I think episode 8 is the best episode of.
Episode 8 is amazing. Do not get me wrong, and I would tell you I'd put it right up there with 9.
No, they're neck and neck.
But 9 genuinely had me like shaking with emotion, and I have to say emotion because there were so many of them happening all at once. Everything with Mon, of like the before portions of her speech, of her figuring out with Luthen and Bale figuring out how she's going to go about these different things, and like her practicing her speech, and her office is bugged, her driver's an ISB plant, what do we do here? And then to go into it and give what I genuinely think is the greatest speech in Star Wars, usurping season 1 of Andor still having the best speeches in this goddamn franchise.
There's just something about this show,
like,
I swear.
There's some lines in there that just kill me right now, especially the one that I'm going to continue to remember probably forever at this point is, the death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. And then I'm going to skip a little bit, but when truth leaves us, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. Like, her entire speech is amazing, one of the best. Like, but it's those lines especially where you look at where we are today with the U.S., where that is what we're at. Misinformation is rampant. The right is using misinformation to control pretty much everything right now. And the monster who screams the loudest is Trump, is his cabinet, his people. It is this, I think we talk about it a lot in relation to season 1, idea of many small atrocities to overwhelm and control. And I think this was that distract. Moment. Yes, and distract. I think this was that moment for me with season 2 of, I cannot separate these two things anymore. I cannot separate this in the world. And this speech had me crying and shaking of, we need to do something. And to know that is what she is, the reaction she is going for in the universe of Star Wars as well, is just such an important moment to me that I don't think I can ever forget.
I do wonder before the end of this show if we see any of the fallout of her speech when it comes to her personal life. And I don't want to...
We were supposed to in this episode, but they cut it.
Okay.
Well, so there was apparently there was something in this episode. They cut it for time. That she was going to go back to her home. It was going to be completely emptied out, and it was just her husband there. telling her what she'd lost.
Yeah.
And I can
I think
see why
that
they
would
cut
go
that, but
I can see why they cut it there. I do think that's something valuable to see before the end of this show. Maybe it was something that was reshot into one of these later episodes, because we all know Mon Mothma from the original trilogy, one of the commanders on Yavin 4, all this stuff. But knowing the pain, loss, and sorrow that she went through, again, seeing what Cass did to set up how he is a better character to execute the events of Rogue One, knowing what Mon Mothma went through is going to make the original trilogy that much more meaningful.
yeah, knowing that she was the leader, she was the right choice for that leadership role within the rebellion, and we see that here, and we see that in Rebels.
We do.
Really wild, by the way, that this episode leads into that episode of Rebels, because those are two very, very different tones.
Very different vibes. And then also seeing ultimately what happens with Luthen and Erskine and Luthen's assistant, whose name I can't remember.
Not Leia.
And yeah, thank you. And where that all lands at the end of the show. Because, I mean, maybe they make it into the rebellion. Maybe they make it past BBY. We don't know. And it'll be interesting to see where that lands. I don't expect Luthen to make it out of these 3 episodes, but the rest of the cast might. We'll see.
Clea.
Yes, thank you.
Elizabeth Dulau. Who
has been phenomenal through this entire show. She's so good.
Yeah, Elizabeth Dulau. So, apparently she was in Wicked.
She was
the deer.
The voice of the deer.
It's one of the things.
More. She's very good.
It's one of those things where it's like I forget that there were voice actors only in Wicked.
Yeah, that movie still feels like a fever dream.
Yeah.
And we're getting more of it this year, aren't we?
Yeah.
This year or next year?
Next year. Next year.
Next year?
Yeah. Early next year. Yeah, I think
November 21st, 2025.
Oh, this year. Shit.
Yeah. Which makes sense. The last movie hit last year.
My brain has that as this year for some reason.
No, I was the same as you. I'm like, maybe it got pushed because it got renamed. I figured it got renamed, so it got pushed or something, because I'm just used to that from video games. R.I.P. to Marvel 1943.
My fantasy critic is dead.
Yeah, you're in ruin.
Although I was not winning to begin with.
I don't think Judas is coming out this year, so I'm sitting right there with you.
What a specific reference that no one's going to understand.
Doesn't matter. If you like games, you know what we're talking about.
I don't think I'm ever going to forget this show, man. I think this is easily my favorite Star Wars stuff. I love when we get real.
We have to do an episode where we rank Star Wars.
We will. We are doing that. It's on the list.
We have to.
We're doing that. We'll do a Marvel ranking, and we'll do a Star Wars ranking.
Oh god, the Marvel one is going to take so long.
We'll probably have some guests for it because people like to argue about shit.
We need a round table for that one for sure. We can find some folks.
Oh yeah, I genuinely think that this is some of the best where we're at. I think Star Wars is at its best when it is mirroring the real world. I think it was Star Wars Explains on YouTube. It was a quote I had seen pulled from a video separate from the video. So if I've got the wrong person here, I'm sorry. But they had said something on the lines of, politics has always been at the center of Star Wars, we just stopped listening to it. And there's part of it that I agree with for especially the main movies, but some of the Disney era, it's not always the point. It's still there. Like politics, while it is absolutely a big deal in like season 3 of Mando, it's not always there. There is the religious cult aspect of it. It's not perfect though. I think Star Wars is at its best when politics are right in the goddamn middle of everything. And
like even looking at some of the low points in the Disney Star Wars era, Episode 9 literally has themes of animal abuse, child labor, and illegal gambling. Like those are 3 things that are still pretty relevant if you look at the world today politically. So it's not that it's gotten away from it. I think to your point, yeah, it's that we've stopped listening for it.
Yeah. And I look at like the stuff that I love from Star Wars, like this, Clone Wars, Rebels, Last Jedi, and they all have those undertones directly at the center of the project. Even the Jedi games have it right at the core of its DNA. And
Everything post Fall of the Jedi Order is very routed in, theming around illegal migrants and work, like workers' rights and all of these things that weren't really an idea before, like in Star Wars media until the fall of the Republic. So very interesting to see that continue to be explored. I'm really looking forward to Respawn's next Star Wars game to see where Cal's story continues or potentially ends. Yeah.
I'm interested in that like the turn-based one. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. The one that they're working with.
I still haven't watched. Yeah,
The one that they're working with, I think it's Bitmodo.
that sounds right. Bit Reactor.
Bit Reactor. What do you think of Bitmodo? Wait, Bitmodo's not a company.
I still want to. Well, I haven't watched the stuff they put out on that. I do hope that we get a showcase of it at Summer Games Fest in a couple of weeks.
Maybe. I'm surprised, honestly, they didn't show more at Star Wars Celebration. Like you would have thought.
Star Wars Celebration Japan. They probably. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I know Disney hasn't done this for a couple of years. If Disney said, "Hey,
Game Showcase
during Jeff Keighley's Summer of Fun Fest, we're going to do a Disney showcase."
I mean, if they're going to do it, they'll do it at D23.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
That's end of summer, isn't it?
Yeah, like SJF Summer Game Fest is next month. And then a month later, or 2 months later, is D23. Like, they'll just wait.
But, I mean, Jeff will still label it as a Summer Game Fest event. It won't be, like, in the...
Oh, yeah, he will. Even if it's absolutely unrelated to him, he will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what he's done before, so that's fine. I think that's the right place for it. But you look at the slate of not only Star Wars games but Disney games that are in the pipeline. Like presumably they're doing more with the Mickey IP after the success of Illusion,
please.
Island of Illusion.
Give me Epic Mickey 3. Call me. I will help you make it. God damn it. Please.
It won't happen. But I know you want it. It's not going to happen. But I mean, there's a lot that's in the pipe, right?
Hey, you don't know.
Wars.
The re-release of Epic Mickey did pretty well.
It did. You've also got that collaboration with Fortnite. Aren't they doing like a whole lived-in universe thing?
Yeah, that we should be hearing more about that soonish. And there's the current Fortnite season that is entirely Star Wars.
Yeah, which I haven't jumped into any of that yet. Maybe I should have.
I have jumped into Fortnite for work purposes, and that's it.
I played a bunch of that season they did that was X-Men?
It was just kind of
Doctor
Marvel.
Doom?
Oh, it was Doom.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily X-Men, it was just Doom.
Doom, yeah.
And it wasn't even Fantastic Four, because they were all dead.
Yeah.
Anyways, folks, that's where we're going to wrap up this episode about talking about not Andor.
Isn't that usually how it goes? Give me an Andor video game. They should have just done Andor when they were doing that one game that got canceled.
1313?
On Coruscant. Yeah.
Obviously, we will talk about the finale episodes here shortly. Keep an eye out for those.
9th, 10th, and 11th. Expect us to do an episode all about unpacking D23.
Yeah, maybe one of us will be there.
Anaheim.
D23 this year?
Yeah.
Check that again.
This is last year.
Also, will not be there. I did not get tickets. Those tickets were gone immediately.
5.
But
so I got the dates wrong too. August 29th through 31st at Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando. And it's Destination D23.
Yeah. Anyways, folks, we will be back next episode. Keep an eye out for that. But until then, bright suns, be good to each other, and have a magical day.
We're doing a Cusco Topia night at Typhoon Lagoon.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there for that.